emasculates him with fear. Fear can make you act like a girl. I ain't trying to be funny, but fear can make you act like something you're not.
That's right.
Come on here. Fear can make you act crazy. Fear can make you lose your mind. Fear can make you lose a sense of who you are. And so his eyes scan the horizon of the hills about Dothan, and they make a 360-degree circuit telescopic view. Wherever he looks, he sees horses and chariots and the great Syrian host, and completely and vigorously shaken outwardly and internally. He rapidly rushes to awake Elijah. He's rushing. He running. Elijah, get up. We got to talk about this.
Yeah.
And so as his fear and trembling matures, he asks the only question available to him: Master, what shall we do?
What shall we do?
What we gonna do? I'm scared. What we gonna do? I'm perplexed. What we gonna do? I don't know what's going on. I don't like it. It doesn't seem right. What are we going to do? And so, in other words, we're surrounded by the enemy. What shall we do? Our capture is inevitable and our fate is uncertain. What shall we do? Elijah says, fear not. In other words, God got this.
That's right.
See, you got to know that God's got it. You got to realize and understand God's got your back. Now, you know what this servant is thinking. What's wrong with Elijah? What in the ham and cheese is wrong with Elijah? Can't he see what I see? Can't he see that the enemy is all around me? Can't he see the 9s and 357s pointed at us? Can't he see the AK-47s pointed at us? Can't he see the gang violence that's going on around us? Can't he see the murders and suicide rate is climbing up and the salvation rate is climbing down? What's wrong with Elijah? What's wrong? I don't get it. It doesn't seem right. Has this sudden, unexpected happening affected his rationality? Has he gone crazy? What's wrong with his vision? Is he blind? Doesn't he see those Syrian soldiers with their horses and chariots all around Dothan? He says, fear not, for we are the majority. You and me. I don't see. Don't you see what I see? I can imagine Elijah saying to him, yeah, I see what you see. I see the church empty. I see nobody's up in here. I see what you see. I see the harm and hurt and calamity that's going on around here. I see what you see. I see what happened in Orlando. I see what you see. I see what's going on in our political realm. I see what you see. I see that it seems like the Christians feel like we are the minority, and those that hate God feel like they're the majority. I see the homosexual marriage that's going on. I see what you see. I see all of these different things that's happening.
Go ahead.
I see the gun violence. I see what you see. But we are the majority and not the minority.
Yes.
And so what in other words, what he's saying is, I see more than what you see.
Yes.
And if you just look a little harder, you'll see that we're not alone, but we are protected. We can't be touched because we've got a support system. They that are with us is more than they that are with them. We are the majority and not the minority. But when the servant looked, he realized that the hills around Dothan had on them not giants or spaceships or some other esoteric representation of the power of God, but horses and chariots too numerous to count. But that's all right. Elijah and his servant were surrounded by chariots made of human strength, chariots of worldly power and opposition. But what God will provide as an answer, declaring his own power, will be chariots of fire. And so here's the second point that I want us to always remember is this. Point number 2, always invoke the presence, always invoke the God's possibilities. Look at somebody say, always invoke God's possibilities. And in chapter 6, verse 17, the Bible says, and Elijah prayed. Yeah. This is where the rubber meets the road. He prayed and he said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of chariots, horses of chariots of fire round about Elijah. Now notice closely that Elijah's servant perceived things in a natural sense. As a result of seeing these things in a natural realm only, Elijah's servant was susceptible to fear. And that's the same reaction that we obtain today, is when we look around and we see that the money is funny and that the change is strange, we begin to fear. When we see that we got more bills than we got money, we get fearful. When it seems that when we look around and we see all kinds of gang violence around us, we get fearful. But look at somebody and say, you got to now invoke the God's possibility. You've got to know that with God all things are possible. And so here we tend to look at our natural circumstances and feel that God is nowhere to be found, when in reality he is right there in our midst. If we can only see what the Lord is doing through our spiritual eyesight, we would be amazed. If we can only see the heavenly host and angels and heavenly beings surrounding us in the midst of our adverse circumstances, we would be full of faith, hope, and peace instead of full of fear and resentment. Elijah prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see the visible guard of angels that encompass and defend us. The opening of eyes which Elijah prayed for were those of the spirit and not of the body.